Hello, this is a little demonstration video of an add-on that I've been working on for a while and procrastinating, and I'm going to show you the basics of this mod. This mod adds 4 entities, and they all are related to the HEV equipment from the Half-Life series. I'm going to start by demonstrating each of these suits, their features, and I will move on to a lot of the stuff that I've added. So let's begin. So we have 3 suits. We have the Mark V from Half-Life 2, the Mark IV from Half-Life 1, or in this case, Black Mesa, and the PCV from Half-Life Opposing Force. I'm going to start by demonstrating the Mark IV.
Welcome to the HEV Mark IV protective system for use in hazardous environment conditions. High impact reactive armor activated. Atmospheric contaminant sensors activated. Vital sign monitoring activated. Automatic medical systems engaged. Defensive weapon selection system activated. Munition level monitoring activated. Communications interface online. Have a very safe day.
As you can see, went through the whole gambit. Now that I have this suit on, I can use the charger, but first I will demonstrate the most important feature, or a few features. So every time you put a suit on, it will give you a prompt that you can type HEV help for a list of commands, and here's a list of commands. Now I'm going to wait till I drop the suit, but I'm going to demonstrate all the other ones. HEV Vox.
Voice system deactivated. Voice system activated.
Activates and deactivates the... This is just a button that when the suit's talking, it will interrupt it. So HEV intro changes the length of the intro. Oops. And there's also a long jump. So I cannot drop the long jump without, of course, equipping it. So here I'll equip the long jump.
Power assist movement activated.
And of course the long jump works. And I can drop the long jump thusly.
Power assist movement activated.
I accidentally put it on directly afterward. And I can also have it tell the time.
The time is now 1:46 a.m.
Yep, it is quite late where I am.
The time is now 1.
I can also interrupt it, like that. And of course, a relatively important feature in the context of a sandbox game, I can drop it, like that. Now when I do not have a suit equipped, I am not able to charge, or I am also not able to pick up any of these batteries. So as you can see, I'm free to toss them around, but I cannot equip them, cannot add them to my armor. However, if I put on the suit...
Welcome to the HEV.
Shut up. I can equip these batteries. But first, I'll demonstrate that I can fires the suit. Now, normally, in Half-Life 1, whenever you pick up a suit battery, it will only read your power in increments of 5. So you may get, say, 47% power, and it will read it as 45%. However, this is not the case. It actually reads the full number in this mod. I will demonstrate it now.
Power 39%. Power 64%. Power 89%.
Thusly. And this suit also is subject to damage messages. So if I, for example, have this head crab attack me,
Minor lacerations detected.
it will play the minor lacerations detected message. This add-on has pretty much all of the messages in Half-Life and Half-Life 2 with a little bit extra. In fact, here's one feature.
Warning. Blood toxin levels detected. Antidote administered. Automatic medical systems engaged. Morphine administered.
Let me just take this off. And as you can see, the power is saved. You can see it right there. I will also put on the Mark V.
Welcome to the HEV Mark V protective system for use in hazardous environment conditions.
Now this one is basically identical, except when you pick up a battery, you do not get the battery message, because that doesn't play in Half-Life 2. However, it's right there. It is the Mark V. The Mark V hazardous environment suit. And here is a preview of the player model, which I will upload with credits to the original creator at some point before I release this mod, and it will be made a requirement. Let me switch back to my normal player model. And finally, the PCV. The PCV is also identical to the two others, with the exception that it does not change your player model. So if I pick this up, my player model does not change. Also, you hear that it doesn't have a voice yet. So with the help of my good friend Mac, he volunteered to do some voice acting for me, and so I have added a military HEV voice to the PCV, which I can activate thusly.
Voice system activated.
Haha. And if you want to hear an intro, I can do that for you. Except I have to drop the suit and pick it back up.
Welcome to the PCV Mark II protective system for use in hazardous environment conditions. High impact reactive armor activated. Atmospheric contaminant sensors activated. Vital sign monitoring activated. Automatic medical systems engaged. Defensive weapon selection system activated. Munition level monitoring activated. Communications interface online. Have a very safe day.
There you go. The PCV now has a voice. It is somewhat inspired by the Prospect voice, except I wasn't going to, well, use that for a myriad of reasons. One of them being that the Prospect suit voice does not have all the lines available. So that is the one that I am using. I will go ahead and drop this. I will now demonstrate the customization features. So one thing that I have not demonstrated so far that I'm about to is that while all of these are different in that they use different player models, presets, that one does not change your player model, that one changes you to the Mark IV, and that one changes you to the Mark V. The one difference that they actually do not have is what options there exist for customization. So each one of these has the exact same set of software options. The only difference is their default settings. This includes voice type. So for example, I can set this to have a voice type of 1, which sets to the HEV suit voice. I can change the color of the HUD. I can change the OS type, so I can change it to the Mark IV or the Mark V. I can toggle the intro length, and I can toggle whether or not it reads battery power.
Welcome to the HEV Mark II protective system for use in hazardous environment conditions.
I can also do that on this suit. So I can change, say, the HUD to purple, change the OS type to the PCV OS, change the voice type to the military voice type, and I can also, with the player model changing ones, I can assign it a color. So for example, I just change this one to blue. If I put this one on,
Welcome to the HEV Mark IV protective system for use in hazardous environment conditions.
so that voice is available. As you can see, the HUD's all changed, and I am now blue. There's also the same customization options for the Mark V. So for example, I could make this Mark V a green color. That looks really silly. Let's make it sort of a dark green color. That looks relatively nice. I can also edit this properties exactly the same. So for example, I could give it the Mark IV HUD, and I could change that HUD to blue or purple. I'll go with light blue. And I can also change this to the second voice type, and I can allow it to read battery power.
Welcome to the HEV Mark V protective system for use in hazardous environment conditions.
So lots of customization options to choose from. So I'm going to take one of these bad boys.
Welcome to the
This is an area that generates radiation. Now if I go inside this area without a suit on, as you can see, there is nothing that out of the ordinary. However, I just probably made myself a little sick.
Welcome to the HEV Mark IV.
Shut up. And if we, as you can see, yep, the Geiger counter. Now I actually recoded the Geiger counter. This is not the vanilla Geiger counter, this is a Lua based Geiger counter, and it's based off of how far away you are from a source of radiation damage. So, the closer you are, the more intense it is. And of course these intervals are pretty random because they're based off of particles hitting. This does actually work with the default, because these are the entities that we currently have. It is also compatible with this regular HEV suit entity. I cannot customize it, however, if I do equip this...
Welcome to the HEV Mark V protective system for use in hazardous environment conditions.
It does indeed equip the Mark V with the default settings. And I can, of course, take it off. The entity is now the proper entity, and I can edit it. So for example, if I'm not a fan of that yellow, you can go ahead and set that to the more the better orange color.
Welcome to the
That's more like it.
HEV Mark V.
Alright, so the feature that I'm going to demonstrate that I have added to this mod is that the player now has the ability to drown. There's also a message added for when you take drowning damage.
Welcome to the HEV Mark.
Shut up. So, if we go ahead and wait a millennia until the character starts drowning, which is pretty much the same time it takes for you to start drowning in Half-Life 1. In fact, the drowning system is the same as it is in Half-Life 1.
Vital signs are dropping. Automatic medical systems engaged. Morphine administered. Seek medical attention.
I'm going to go ahead and summon a bot friend. And I'm going to go ahead and spawn and customize an HEV suit real quick and have him wear the suit.
Welcome to the HEV Mark IV protective system for use in hazardous environment conditions.
I can give him the long jump module as well.
Power
I'll give it to myself.
movement activated. Power assist movement activated.
And I can actually go ahead and shoot this guy and the suit will respond.
Blood loss detected. Blood loss detected. Automatic medical systems engaged. Morphine administered. Seek medical attention. Warning. Vital signs critical. Emergency. User dead in
There is a couple more features that I'm going to demonstrate. They're relatively important, especially for servers, and that is convars. So if I look in the convars and I type sv_aps, you'll see three convars. There's sv aps death persist. What that does is it tells the server whether or not a player who dies with the HEV suit on should keep it on when they respawn. While SV APS default HUD determines what the default HUD is. Now the default is default Gmod HUD. Oops. Gonna turn that to Archon. I'm not sure if this is actually working yet. Yeah. Error HUD CVAR not found. Yeah. So to HUD E Half-Life 2. Now if I actually go to HUD E Half-Life 2 and try to change this to 0, you'll see that it forces it. That's because it actually forces these client-side convars, which is why it's optional, because obviously this would probably really piss off a lot of people, especially if they were using their own HUD add-ons and they didn't want to have their HUD change. Oops. I keep thinking I'm in single player, but I am not. Now what this does is this unlocks the HUD, so now I can change it to whatever. And if I change it back quick, because why not? If I pick up a suit, so say the Mark 5. Actually, I like the Mark 4 better.
Welcome to the HEV Mark 4 protective system.
You'll see that my HUD has not changed at all. However, if I actually activate the Archon again, you'll see, there you go. If I go to, say, the options or utilities, or where the hell was it? Alright, diameter. Both of these mods are diameter mods, I'm pretty sure. Forgot if the enhanced Half-Life 2 HUD was diameters or not. It does not matter too much. But this, as you can see, I cannot change the HUD options. I cannot change the colors. I can change certain stuff like... Actually, I cannot change that, huh? Most of the options are unable to be changed. I also cannot change the theme. So every time I change the theme, it just snaps back to Half-Life. I cannot change the HUD scale. So it's very, very locked. This is completely client side. It's sort of the server telling the client that they can only, every time they have their convar set a certain way, the server tells the client, hey, you should enter these, and then the client enters them. There's really no other way to get the HUD system to work without plagiarizing people's mods. So, unfortunately, that's just going to have to be the case. That's why I made the option to disable it, so that I don't have to force people to get these HUD add-ons for the mod to work. In fact, they're disabled by default. If you go into SV APS HUD force and just type it, you'll see that the default value is 0. And it gives you a warning. Enable or disable the APS API's ability to override HUD. All required HUD add-ons for each APS API pack must be installed. I am planning on making this mod as modular as I possibly can. I've designed it relatively modularly so far, so it should be relatively moddable as a base. You should be able to do cool stuff like, I don't know, add the power armor from Fallout. Maybe the Crisis suit, although I doubt someone's gonna do that. I don't know. You never know. You never know. You could add lots of cool stuff. Anything related to adding armor to the player, you can probably do with this API. I remember I actually made Kevlar with this API, however I never saved it and ported it over. I might do that at some point. It used to just be in its own category, just APS. That's the final bit of the demonstration for this mod.